Hey, Casmo.
Yeah.
There's been some Osprey drama that you wanted to talk to us about.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's been all over the news, right? I had this article I pulled up, but yeah, we're talking about that's a perfect picture.
Is that the right article?
I love it.
Yeah, I think that's actually from now that I see it. But yeah, so obviously we had the Osprey incident, but you see it too with the 737 Max and stuff. Sometimes things get a little bit sensational. But I guess they've just started an congressional inquiry looking into the Osprey. And if you read through this article, it talks about, I think it says right there, 51 service members have died in Osprey crashes throughout the program's lifetime. But Osprey is one of those names where the moment you say it, most people attribute it to, it's the thing that crashes all the time. And the reality is that's not, but it's sort of built this reputation of that. So this is like the Class A mishap rates per 100,000 hours of flight. And you can see that it's actually, pretty low compared to a lot of other aircraft. There's F-18s up there, E-6s. So it's just one of those things where I think that it probably got when it happens, it's bad, right? Because let's say an F-18 goes down and unfortunately the crew is killed. It's one, maybe two people die. When an Osprey goes down, it's 20 dudes or something. So I think it makes headlines, but it's kind of built that persona of that it's this death machine. And in fact, I found an article earlier. Let's see, I took I should have sent it to you, but I took a screenshot, I think. And it was like, I can't find it, but it was, here it is. The U.S. military's most capable tilt rotor is a death trap. So like headlines like that, I mean, they just get people to read, but it's just not, it's not reflected in the numbers. So,
yeah. Side question. So the C-20 transport is the most dangerous airplane? Dude, that's a Gulfstream. That's scary.
I don't know.
Oh, I guess
maybe those numbers are made up. It's possible.
69% of all statistics are made up.
I thought it was 73, but yeah.
69 sounds better.
It sounds sexier.
So, Casmo, here's my question. When they say, because I've seen this before and they're like, it's killed more people. Don't real helicopters kill more people? Like, isn't the Black Hawk deadlier?
Well, in that article, it talks about that too. Like, it's a problem of scale, right? Because there's a lot more Blackhawks than there are Ospreys, and the Blackhawk's been flying for a lot more years. So the number is going to be, and it kind of addresses it in that article or another one that I read where it was, it's hard to get that data and make that comparison, or so they say. But yeah, I mean, it's inherently dangerous, right? I mean, airplanes want to fly, helicopters want to beat themselves to death against the ground with you inside of it. So they're already a little bit dangerous. And then Ospreys, I mean, you got to think too, the Osprey's sort of like, cutting edge technology, it's the first sort of tilt rotor that's, operational. And now the Army's looking to go into that with the new aircraft that it's getting to replace the Black Hawk. It likes this whole tilt rotor stuff, which for me, I'm old school helicopter. I don't like it, but I can see that the benefits of it. But yeah, a quick answer to your question is yes, all helicopters are dangerous.
Would you fly it?
No, absolutely not. No.
You wouldn't fly the Osprey?
I would do it once just to say that I did, but I'd fly anything once. I don't know. It just seems weird to me, but again, that's just my own bias. It's not anything.
Yeah.
No,
stone.
That's pretty cool information from somebody who's
I'd fly once too, but I wouldn't want to be an Osprey pilot. That's just me.
Yeah. I went through training at my current airline with a guy, and he was an Osprey pilot. And I remember he was talking about how they had like an engine failure, and like it was, I don't remember all the details, but it was a lot more elaborate, because of you've got the rotors are down. And so you've got to you can't lift them back up because you've only got the one engine working. And so you've got to do a run on landing, but the rotors, if you keep them down, they're going to hit the ground. So you've got to do all this weird stuff. I was like, man, that just sounds like a lot of work. And it just sounds kind of scary.
Can you kind of half tilt them? Can you just enough so that they don't hit and then run it?
Well,
I guess that's your run.
I guess, well, that's how they take off sometimes too. They used to take off out of Erbil when I was there on my last deployment to go into Syria and stuff. And they would sometimes, I guess if they have a heavy load, they can't pick up and hover. So they'd have to run on, but they would lower it down however many degrees and kind of take off like an airplane.
Donkey, this thing's replacing the C2. Do you think there's enough room?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when it was kind of first announced that, hey, the tilt rotor is probably going to replace the C2. Like one of the big deals is like an F-35 engine really won't fit inside it. So as far as like it completely replacing a C2, probably not. But that's, in 10 years or so, maybe they found a workaround. They have introduced the Osprey in the Navy. It has, it is, they are using it, but they still also have the COD as well. So, yeah. I mean, well,
the thing about the Osprey too is like it wasn't really designed initially to take that kind of role, because they're actually not that big. Like if you've ever been inside one, it's not a lot of space. It just, the thing takes up so much space because of the rotors. But it was really designed for like long range insertion and extraction, more special operations type stuff. And so for them to just kind of switch it over and just use it to general cargo and carry stuff, it's kind of defeating the purpose. But
do they have any ideas of like what's going on to cause the rate of mishaps recently? Like, did they say as part of their congressional, they're just asking the question, or do they kind of have an idea of what's going wrong?
Well, there's a known issue. I can't remember the name of it. It's some sort of clutch inside the rotor system. So I know that Marine one that crashed maybe over the summer, or maybe it was even longer ago. There was 100%. It was this issue with the clutch. And I don't want to screw up my facts, but I know that the wife of the pilot was getting into it because the Marines, I think it was, were saying, oh, it's, some issues with the crew. They're like, no, 100%, you guys know about this clutch thing. So there's known problems with that. And I think what the issue is everyone acknowledges it. Like it's a known issue, but it has a life cycle. And so they just try to stay ahead of the life cycle before it wears out. But
so like at 10 hours, this thing will eat itself and kill everybody. So we're going to change it at 9.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not rare. Like I was involved in an investigation for a Black Hawk that went down, and the engine, it kind of ate itself, and the crew made some bad calls because of it. And it was a known issue. That aircraft was getting ready to go get that part replaced because they knew about this issue. So those things happen more than people understand.
Wow. Is it happening more with the Marines, Air Force? Like, cause is it across the board, or does it depend on how they're operating? Right. Cause the Army, Marines, everybody kind of operates a little differently.
I think it's across the board, but I think it's the way that it's being managed. And again, now I'm kind of digging real deep into stuff I read a long time ago, but I think there was a marked difference in the management of how the Marines versus the Air Force were using them. And so that was attributing to some of the failure rates. Because I know that like the Air Force grounded them for a good long while because of the clutch issue, if I remember correctly. And the Marines were like, no, we got this. And then they had that one crash that I was just talking about. And I think that kind of brought it back into the forefront. And then you had this other one that just happened recently. So it's just not a good look.
Like the afterburn. It's like the F-16 when it first came out, when they were calling them the lawn dart, and the wife sued.
That's right.
I guarantee
there's a movie about that.
Money. I guarantee it's a money issue. It's like, well, fix the clutch. Well, we would, but then it would cost $1 gazillion. It's like, well, how many Ospreys are we going to lose over a 10-year period? Okay, let's do the math on how much that actually costs. I mean, sadly,
and I don't know this, but I think the Marines use it more than the Air Force does, and so it's like it's a bigger impact for them to ground it. But I don't know.
I didn't do that. That was producer Doug. But yes, no, thank you, Cosmo. That's eye opening and scary all at the same time. I retract I'll go right on it now, because I don't want to be at hour 6.9 when the thing freezes and you end up falling from the sky.
Man, before you go, easy.
I don't know how. I don't know how.
Every flight.
I don't know what I'm looking at, even when I know how to fly the jet. I just kind of it's there.